Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Biloxi Cooks. I'm David Allen, this is Firefighter Evan Harless, and today we're going to be cooking a chicken Alfredo with garlic butter biscuits on the side. We decided to do this dish because we took a vote amongst all the people on the crew and they said this was one of their favorites, so we're going to give it to y'all. To start off, you're going to want to preheat your oven to 425, and then you want to get a medium pot of water ready to boil to get your noodles started. For our preference today, we're going to use bow tie pasta. The recipe will work with any kind of pasta that you want, but while we're waiting for the water to get boiled, we're going to start preparing our chicken. We used chicken tenders or chicken fillets. All you're going to do is bust them out about 3 pounds, and you're going to cube them up. You don't have to be very picky on your size. As long as they're cubed up and you cook them all the way, they'll be good. We're going to cook this chicken in a medium cast iron skillet. You're going to cook it over a medium high heat. And to start it off, we're going to put a little bit of olive oil and cube up this stick of butter also to go with it. Cutting it up just makes it melt a little faster, helps the cooking process. And then we're going to start seasoning. You want to make sure, and we're using Zatarain's blackening season. It's pretty much going to be the only seasoning that we use throughout this recipe. Make sure you season heavily, because when you start mixing all your cheeses and noodles there at the end, it's going to draw some of that flavor out. So you want to season heavy in the beginning so you don't have to over season at the end. Crank that up a little bit. Give it a little stir. And hit it a little bit more with the seasoning. Remember, if you can't see it, you can't taste it. While the chicken's going, our water's starting to come to a boil. We're going to add 1.5 pounds of noodles to our water. That'll be about 1.5 boxes of these bow ties. You can save the rest, make you a pasta salad later down the road. And let them start cooking till they're tender or al dente. While Firefighter Evan takes care of the noodles and checks on the chicken, we're going to get started on the sauce. For our sauce, you're going to need 3 bell peppers, any kind is fine. I chose the red, yellow, and orange because they're a little bit sweeter. I think the green bell peppers are a little bitter, and I like the sweetness. You got 3 to 4 onions. I use a yellow sweet onion. It just depends on how big they are. Our bag of onions today was a little small, so I used 4 of them. And then you're going to need about 12 baby bella mushrooms chopped up. I chop everything up a little thicker so you can see the colors more and it's bigger pieces, and it just looks a little bit prettier. And then any sun-dried tomato will work. I use the julienne cut with herbs, and you're going to use all that. You're going to need some heavy whipping cream and about 3 sticks of butter. And it sounds like a lot of butter, but a lot of it will cook out. So we're going to get started by a medium or large cast iron pot, or any sauce pot will work, or a big pan. We're going to start by getting the stick of butter melted over a medium high heat. Once again, I'm just cutting the butter up so it'll melt a little faster, speed up the cooking process. We're going to start off with our bell peppers and our onions. They take a little bit longer to cook down and tenderize. So we're going to start off with this bell pepper here. But I'll take each one of these ribs and cut down. And it holds everything together like that. And then you just cut them long ways. Go as slow as you need to. Line them up. And cut nice big diced chunks. You don't have to worry about making them all even. This isn't a 5-star restaurant. Then go with our onion. When your noodles are ready, like he's about to do, just take them off, strain them, set them to the side to wait for the rest of the recipe. If you want to go ahead and cool them off, you can spray some cold water and stir them up to cool them down real quick so they won't overcook in the strainer. Just set them to the side. We're going to get back with them here shortly. While he's doing that, my butter's starting to melt. It's time to add the bell peppers and the onions and get them started to sauteing down. Just throw all these vegetables in here. Give them a quick stir and let them get to know each other a little bit. Our onions and peppers are starting to cook down. You can see their colors are starting to change. So we're going to go ahead and add our mushrooms. When you get done with your mushrooms, you can go ahead and add your tomatoes. You just do the whole jar. Stir them up good. Whew, it's already starting to smell good. Alright, now while we're waiting on our vegetables to cook down and blend all together good and get all that flavor going, we're going to check on our chicken. The chicken's looking pretty good and cooked, so we're going to cut that heat, add a little more season. Give them a good stir. Cover them back up and let them sit there until we get ready to incorporate everything together. Now we're going to raise that fire up a little bit. And we're going to start adding our heavy cream. Now, I like a lot of sauce. I like it to be wet when I plate my food. So you're going to cover everything and use just about the whole box. And after it cooks down a little bit, if you feel like you need to add more, you want a little bit more sauce, then you just add the rest of it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bring this to a boil and just keep seasoning it. And we're going to use the Zatarain's blackening season. Now this cream is sweet, and you don't want to take all the sweetness away, but you also want to taste the Zatarain's. So just do a little bit at a time. Do a nice coat. Stir it in pretty good. And then when you bring it up to a boil and you reduce it, you taste it and then add from there. When it's all said and done, your cream sauce is going to turn a bright pinkish red color. Alright, while Evan's over here taking care of the sauce, we're going to get started on the biscuits. For the biscuits, I like to use White Lily self-rising flour. If you can't follow along, or I talk too fast, or you don't quite understand my recipe, they do have a recipe on the back that's just as good, and you can follow it. It has everything written down. But what we're going to do is, there's a lot of guys here, so we're going to double our batch and make a bigger batch of biscuits for everybody here. So what you're going to need to start off with is 4 cups of flour. This part's optional. I like to sift mine. I had a guy at the station bring me a sifter. He said it changes the biscuits. His name is Gary Thibodeau. So I already got 3 cups sifted here. We're going to sift 1 more. Now biscuits are made from the heart, so you don't really have to measure quite that accurately. So we're just going to put a heaping pile in here and begin sifting. Alright, set that to the side. You're still going to need your flour, so keep it handy. The next step is we're going to take this Crisco shortening. I like to use the butter flavor shortening. You're going to need a 1/2 cup. They have labels on the side. Like I said, you don't have to measure exactly. Just pinch off little pieces like I'm about to do until you get to about 1/2 cup and set it to the side. You're going to use the rest of this to grease your pan. Alright, so to make it easier, because you got to work this into the dough and pinch it in until it's flaky, you just want to bust up little pieces and just toss it in. Alright. Evan has informed us that the sauce is boiling, so what he's going to do now, he's going to turn it down to a light simmer, season it a little bit more, and stir it, and take his first taste. So once you got all your shortening busted up into your flour, you're going to take it and pinch it and incorporate it into your flour, making sure you bust it up into tiny little flakes all throughout. Just take your time. You don't want to leave any big chunks. You don't have to rush this. Alright, when you start getting close to finish, you'll be able to run your fingers through it, and it'll be like little BBs and little flakes. And that's fine, as long as there's no big chunks, we're good. Now you want to make a little bowl in the middle, because the next step, we're going to add our buttermilk. Now I've been making these long enough, I don't really measure. But like I said, I have a recipe that I put out, and it has the exact measurements. and also the back of the flour bag has a better measurement. I have a quart of milk here, buttermilk, cultured whole milk. I'm going to start adding it in, about 2/3 of the bottle. And then this part's important. You don't want to over knead your dough. Just gently incorporate everything together. If you over knead it, it won't rise properly. So just keep mixing it gently from the sides, working it towards the middle until you start forming a ball. If you're looking like that you need to add more milk, add it. You're looking for the consistency of cottage cheese. When you get the consistency you want, set it to the side. And you're going to take a little bit of your flour and put it on the counter to begin your workspace. You're going to get your dough and scrape it out onto your flour, like so. If you got a bunch stuck on your hand, just coat your other hand in flour and it'll pull right off. From here, you're going to take your dough. You're going to lightly dust the top of it. And all you're going to do is flatten it out. You don't need to knead it. All the extra kneading will just affect the way it cooks. If it starts sticking to your hands a little bit, just dust it a little more and flatten it out until you get about an even 1/2 inch all the way around. Before you get started with everything, according to the recipe, if you read it first, you're going to stick a stick of butter, one of your garlic butters, Kerrygold garlic butters, in the freezer. If you start it, when you start mixing your flour up, that'll be fine. I did it before we got started cooking. So as long as it's firm and hard, you want it at least semi-frozen. That way when you cook it in, and you mix it and cook it in the oven, it'll melt and steam and it'll make your biscuits a lot more fluffier. So what we're going to do with this frozen stick of butter, we're going to open it up. You open your butter up and take your cheese grater and just shred that butter all over. Make sure to get it everywhere. You want to use as close to the whole stick as you can. Alright, once you get your butter scattered across the top, you're just going to fold it. Into each other. Alright. Now what I like to do, I like to just push it back down a little bit. If it gets a little sticky, always flour it. Flour it some more. I like to push it down one more time. And fold it over one more time. Form a nice little ball, pick it up, let it fall on top of each other. Try to get some layers in there. Get a little more flour. One last dusting. Dust your area. Now this is where you're going to flatten it out. You don't want to over knead your biscuit dough, because it'll keep it from rising. Now we want big fat cat head biscuits. So we're going to leave our dough close to 1 inch thick. Before we punch them out. And you're going to take the pan that you're going to cook in, and you're going to take the rest of your vegetable shortening, and you're going to grease the bottom with it, making sure to get up the sides because your biscuits will rise and you don't want them sticking anywhere. Also, this is going to give it a real nice crust. You can use a cookie cutter or anything you want. I like to use an old Nukes cup. Makes the best size, I think. You're going to dust it, find you a good spot to start, and push straight down and pull out. Don't twist. Something about twisting will pinch the sides and keep your biscuit from rising. So just push down and pull out and set her in there. And then keep going. You want to put your biscuits kind of tight together. That way they have no direction to go but up, and that'll leave you with a good, fluffy, flaky biscuit. If you need to fill space, like I do, you just take the rest of it, punch it together, and fill her in. Once you get all your biscuits in the pan, you're going to come back to your vegetable shortening and take a little dollop and put it right on top of each biscuit. That washes the flour off as it cooks, and it also leaves you with a good crispy crust on top. Once you have your biscuits ready, it's time to throw them in the oven. We preheated our oven earlier to 425, 450 depending on your oven and depending on the recipe you choose to use. We're going to put this on the bottom shelf because while this cooks, we're going to throw together our pasta and also throw it in the oven, and then it's waiting from there. While we were letting the noodles cool, we went ahead and put them in the pan that we're going to be baking them in. So now that we're ready to throw everything together, let's get started. So what I like to do is I'll put the noodles in here first, and you're going to need your Parmesan cheese. I just got a great value, 6 ounces. You don't have to be fancy. And just sprinkle it all over. It's going to melt together when you start mixing everything up. Then you're going to come over here and get your chicken, juice and all, and just add your chicken. Then we're going to get our sauce and pour it on top. All right. Be sure to get all that goodness out of the bottom of that pot. And now you mix. When you got everything mixed together and topped and seasoned, it's time to throw it in the oven. You're going to cook it for about 15 to 20 minutes until you get your desired color on top. All right, our pasta's about where we want it, so we're going to go ahead and take it out and let it start cooling off a little bit. And I'm going to move them biscuits up to the top rack. Our biscuits are just about done, so we're going to take them out and test them with a toothpick and make sure they're done. Take a toothpick, stab it in the middle. If it comes out clean, they're finished. Just check all the ones in the middle because that would be the ones that takes the longest to cook. All right, our biscuits are done. We're going to take this melted garlic butter and gently brush the top of them. Get a good coating. Now that everything's ready, let's make a plate. And this is creamy baked chicken Alfredo with garlic butter biscuit. This recipe here is good for big parties. I cook for about 7 to 8 people on any given day. So if you need to cut it down for a smaller family, cut it down. But like I said, this recipe is large for a large group of people. I hope you enjoy, and thanks for spending some time with us.